Hello, everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Dr. J.R. Lucker, and I'm happy to be here and presenting on what do statewide and district-wide tests tell us about our students. Let me share my screen and show you my PowerPoint while I discuss this topic. Many of you may have students in schools, or you may be teachers in schools. And one of the things that you are probably aware of is that other than students in schools being evaluated by their teachers, that there are statewide and district-wide tests that are administered for students, different levels, different grades, and these tests are often given once a year. So the question is, what is the value of district-wide and statewide tests for evaluations? So again, I am Dr. J.R. Lucker. I am a professor emeritus from Howard University, which is in Washington, D.C. And I'm very happy to be here to talk about this topic. So the first question that comes up is, why do we evaluate students? Well, number one, teachers evaluate the students because I'm a professor at university. I still teach, and I cover a topic, and I want to know how well did my students learn the topic, and how well are they studying for it, and what do they know? But school districts evaluate their students for multiple reasons. Okay, two of the most important is similar to what I just said. How are students performing in that subject area? Example, going to elementary school. First thing is we're going to be teaching students how to read. We want to know, how are they learning? We make believe that school starts and I'm teaching you the alphabet and teaching you the relationships between those fancy things we call orthographic symbols, very often people call letters, and the sounds they make. Then I'm going to test the children, see how well do they learn that, how well can they read. At the beginning, they may also just learn to read sight words. Here's the word cat. Oh, I know that word. I don't know what cat is, but I know cat. So here's a word. The cat sat on the mat. Hey, the kid's learning this. Very good, very good. One, how is the child performing? How is the child performing in reading? Go on. We'll start teaching a little bit about history, social studies, okay, economics. We'll be teaching about science and all the different areas of science and all the math, etc. How are my students performing? I'm the teacher. Okay, the school might ask, how are our students performing within the school? The state might say, and how are school students performing within the entire state? So I want to know is, why do we evaluate students? One, to identify how they're performing in a specific subject, but also how is my school, I'm the principal or the administrator of a school, how are my school, how are the students performing in all the different grades? How are they performing? All of the 6th grade students in middle school performing in a subject. Okay. And then the school district also wants to know, and how are our students performing A, B, C, D, E, F, G school? So a question arises. One, why do school districts provide these evaluations? I already said to find out, but let's see. One reason is to compare how students in each of the schools within the district are performing. So in other words, I used A, B, C, D. So let's just use 4, A, B, C, D. 4 schools. They all are elementary schools. They all have first grades. Okay, they're in different parts of the town, different parts of the district. And the thing is, I want to know, how do the students in school A perform compared with students in school B, compared with D, C, and D? And maybe I can find, school A's students aren't performing very well. Let me go find out. Make me believe I'm the administrator of the district. Go and speak with the administrators of the school. Why are your students performing so much lower than B, C, and D? School district, school A. Okay, so I want to compare the students, find out which students are showing the greatest performance, having problems. Okay, I want to see what are the strengths in the schools. So let's make believe schools B, C, and D all provide, we're using reading again, reading instruction to everyone, in their language, ELA, okay, English Language Arts program, but they also have teaching assistants who go around and help the students who might have some problems. Could we get school A to get teaching assistants? One, do we have a budget for it? Two, do we have personnel for it? But let's try that, okay? So evaluate how the schools are doing to see how we can help the school, okay? A third might be that the State Board of Education is to find out how are the school districts within the state performing. Use North, Southeast. We have school district North, school district South, school district East, school district West. How are the students performing there? How are they doing? And we'll make believe, or just pick East. East has nothing to do with anything. East, we'll make believe that the students in school district East not doing very well. What do I know of that school district? What is it that we as the state can do to help that school district do better? Why is school district West or South or North doing so much better? Okay, that could be it. So that we may use evaluations to help determine how the schools and the school districts are doing, but what are students individually. Another possible reason school district may use student performance on statewide tests, report problems. So we'll make believe we, you listening, and me, we are part of the school district board of education. We know there's been problems. We've been writing to the state board of education, complaining of the problems. We need extra money. We need these teaching assistants. We don't have the money, the funding for them. Come on, help us. Well, I might say, as the head of the school district's board of education, or something, maybe we could get to the state school board of education and say to them, if you can provide these things, look at these grades, making this up, 40% of our students are failing in reading. Only 60% are at grade level or higher. Okay, we need to bring that 40% up. We need these things, but we need the funds, and we need also to advertise teaching assistants to help us. You have to help us with that. And let's see if we can say, hey, look, it's not just our complaint. Look at your state. Okay, so maybe that's a way to do it. Maybe we can bring it up to the state standard, if the state standards. Okay, and I'm hoping that school districts don't think our standards will be low, their standards could be high. Everyone's standards should be the same. They're children from this state. They're our children. They are our future. They are the ones who, most of them may stay in the state, will be moving this state forward. And I want them to be the school districts where performance is strong may also use these to encourage families. Hey, look at how good our school district is. You have young children, move in here. We got the best schools. So the school district where the kids aren't doing well might say, we want the families to stay. We want to have all of our students doing well. Okay, so the question is, when are these tests administered? How good are these tests usable? Okay, Typically, school districts use statewide tests because the states administer them once a year, and it's usually towards the end of the school year. Okay, I'm just going to make up, for example, states may differ, but in May. Okay, so school starts in September or August, if you, let's say, starting at least 2 weeks in August before, but let's say August, so you've got September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 9 months of school practically is gone by, and we want to see how students have performed that school year. But let's say everyone performs 90%. But where did they start? Think of this. Imagine if we were to test them at the beginning of the school year and they all started at 95%. And now they're down to 90%. Hey, they've actually worse. But 90% is still good. All right. Now we have another school district and their students at the end of the school year perform at, let's say, 70%. That's not very good. But what if they all started at 20%? That's a nice improvement. But we would love to not get them starting at 20%, right? Love to make that even stronger. Okay. So the thing is, we only use one value. Is that one value sufficient telling us how the school is doing and how our students in that school district are doing? The answer is no. But statewide tests are usually given once a year. As I said, was the school year, let's say like May or whatever. There's a statewide expectation how students will perform. Now, from the school district point of view, that's good now. That's good because we want to know how do our school district perform with the other school districts in the state. What are the factors counting for better performance or poor performance? And what can we do with poor performance to make it better and make it come up in standards, the standard that is expected by the state? And the ones who are doing very well, how do we keep it very well? Okay. Now, school districts may also have their own school or district-wide tests. At least my experience is very often the district-wide tests, if they're given, are given at the beginning of the school year. So it tells where the students are starting. But then it's not given at the end of the school year to see what improvement they've seen. Very often what school districts may do is they'll give district-wide tests at the beginning of the school year, and then they go by the statewide test at the end of the school year. But do the district-wide tests and the statewide tests measure the same thing? Same area. I'll give you an example. How many of you would agree a car is not a car? Yes, they're all vehicles that travel. But would you agree a car that just barely fit 4 people is very different than a station wagon? Okay, which is very different than an SUV, right? So the thing is that cars differ, districts differ. So the district-wide test may be how are our students doing relative to what we in the district expect. But the state is saying, how are they doing relative to the way we expect them to be performing, right? So that's important. So how do statewide end of the year tests help the students? They don't for that specific school year. In other words, if we give the test in May, and we're going to make believe this is student, use ABC again, student A, who failed the test, I think school ends in June or the very, very end of May, beginning of June. By the time I get the results back, it'll be time to graduate, leave. How do I help you? In other words, we're going to give the statewide test, but then has to be scored. Once it's scored, the school district then has to get the results. Once we get the results, it's the end of the school year. We need to meet to find out what to do with this child, but we have 2 weeks left of school. So do we give the child extended school year? I'm sorry, we already have 150 kids in the extended school year, and we only have, let's make believe, 15 classes, 10 kids in a 10 classes of 15 kids each. So the thing is that, do we have more room? Okay, do we have the money to pay for more people? Okay, so the thing is that, would it be better to give the test at the beginning of the school year to find out how the student is doing, and at the end of the school year to see how they've actually done? So in other words, I'm going to give you, and here's a good example, driving tests. Ever talking about cars? Driving test. If you've ever had a child of yours who you taught to drive, would you not agree the first thing you do is you don't sit them behind the car and say, here's the Indianapolis 500, right? Do is you bring them to some empty area. I'm thinking of my kids when I taught them how to drive. Went to an empty parking lot and had my child sit behind, talk through all of the things. But first, the child was given a driver's license. Do they at least know some basics? Then I'm going to give them what? A trial. And you drive the car. Oh, good, stop. Oh, they did. Look at that. Okay, let's try it again. Forward, stop. This time you're going to go forward, but make a right turn. This is how you make the right turn, right? You're showing them what to do. They walk through it, at least. Okay, slowly. You're lucky if you're going 5 miles an hour, right? Okay, and the child is driving, and well, they're 16 years old or 15.5 years old. It is driving, and then all of a sudden the car moves right, and it does not go over the line. Remember, there's no cars or anything around, but over the line that you're using, don't line. Or they touch it a little. Okay, it's the first time they made a right turn, right? Okay, so the thing is that we need to evaluate where they start, how they've done once they've had, let's say, 10 lessons. So you've taken them out for 10 hours. You agree the kid driving for 10 hours, all of a sudden makes a right turn, makes a left turn. Hey, I remember when that kid was doing like 5 miles an hour, barely turning the car, right? Okay, so what we need is the school team meets following the school year to determine. The problem is they're going to have to, what we can do for the student the following school year. Problem. What's going to happen in the rest of June, July, and August? 3 months. So the kids, instead of being at this level, the kids at this level, but because of the 3-month time period, now down to a very low level. Right? We want to, get that information and see what progress made. Helping students. Student starts the new school year, the next school year, but it's now a new grade level. Student had weaknesses. The child had problems, let's say, on the state test in reading. Okay, and was just barely, just reading words, but couldn't sound them out very well. But now we're going to give the child reading material where they have to sound out not just 2 or 3 sound or phoneme words, but now 2-syllable words. Right? Okay, so school district team reviews testing from the year before. The school district team identifies, here are some students we're concerned about. Let's go see what the teacher sees. But teachers don't know these kids yet. Let's give them a month. Nope. We wait till the end of September. Month and a half's gone by. Mrs. Smith, how is Johnny doing in your class? Mr. Jones, how is Mary doing in your class? Right? And the thing is, it's their subjective input. If they say, oh, he's doing fine. Well, didn't do well on the test. Let's just keep an eye on him. Oh, he's not doing well at all. Well, maybe we should review how he's doing. Okay, let's review it. Well, we'll do that in 2 weeks. Now it's 2 months, 3 months, ready to start, okay? And we review what the child is doing and where the child is performing and what the teacher is seeing with the child. And the first thing that says to us, this child will make believe grader now moved into 3rd grade, is now in 3rd grade, not performing well. They're not doing what we expect for third graders. The end of second grade was not doing well either. The kid needs some help. We call it response to intervention, RTI. The teacher meets with the team or meets with someone that we have a TA, a teaching assistant. That teaching assistant or aide will be in class during reading time. Will pull that child aside along with two other kids, and the three of them, they'll be reviewing it, ready into the second, third month of school. Get my idea that we're getting close to the first quarter. And now we're providing some support. And let's make believe the child is making progress. Good. What do? Stop it. We can have the other kids do the individualized kind of teaching, or we do what's called push-in services. We get the reading specialist who comes in now and works with that child for a month, see how the kid is doing. Oh, kid's doing okay. Qualitatively, we have no formal tests. It's the end of the first quarter, making progress. Okay, so decision. Reading specialists will come in once a week, 30 minutes to work with the child, see how the child is doing. Now we come into the middle of the year. We still have no formal tests that have been done. And basically, what happens in the middle of the year is the child is not really making much progress. So the special ed person, the reading specialist, says, I think we could bring it to the special education team to review. Oh, sorry. It is now December, and we're going to be going into Christmas soon. Why don't we do our testing right after? Okay, we do our testing. So we have all the testing that is needed to be done during January. They have 45 days in which to get the testing done. And in that 45 days, if you don't realize what that is, that's a month and a half. Now, the middle of February, parent gets an email or a letter saying, we're going to have a meeting. We are now in February. So we identify the child needs services. They will start next week, middle of February. So we have all of February, March, April, May, 3.5 months that the child will have special services when the problem was known. Year school, is in third grade, was known in second. So we need more tests, but one test at the end of the school year is not going to help really tell. Let's see what would be recommended. Okay, and that was special education team identifying needs services, right? And then, as I state on this slide here, the students may have fallen even further behind. The student may also feel frustrated because I just don't get it, or less competent, is up, or be. So let's talk about district-wide and statewide tests. They're formal tests. Very often school districts are concerned about how does our district perform compared with last year? And how does our district compare with other districts similar to ours, according to in the eyes of the State Board of Education? So we know the test is going to be given in May. Every teacher is told, stop teaching in April. The entire month of April, you ought to pair the students for the statewide tests. At the beginning of the school year, they may say, listen, 2 weeks, we're going to do a district-wide test. We'll prepare the students for that. But let's stay with the statewide tests now, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to still do a little bit of studying, still do some reading, but focusing our lessons not on the skills, but on the skills that will be incorporated in the statewide. And then we're going to spend time, let's make believe all morning. Okay, school starts, I'm going to make believe at 8:30, and then we have lunch at 11:30, 8:30, 9, 10, 11, 3 hours, 8:30 to 11:30, 3 hours, airing, practicing math, practicing reading, practicing, let's say, subject areas to pass the statewide test. You got that? And here's the good example. I'm going to give you a test and ask you to repeat some things. Ready? Things you're going to repeat are Google Muggle and Skibby Dooble. It again. Google Muggle, Skibby Dooble. One more time. Google Muggle, Skibby Dooble. How many of you say you can repeat that? Good. Now, what do they mean? I hope you realize they're nonsense words. Or my joke when I teach is very often, they're actually from my native language, from Mars. We used to talk that when we came from Mars down to Earth. Don't say that anymore. And also, new skin that I have on green. So the thing is that you learned it and you can repeat it. You can memorize it and you can learn the skill for passing the test. But will you apply it? Question, right? Students are being trained to pass. So what does a student's performance on the statewide tests indicate? 3 examples. Student number 1, okay? And this student is scoring all A's in class, in whatever the subject is that they're taking the statewide test on. All A's, okay? But the student has test fear. And some of you, if you're parents, you may have children, you know, kind of, they do well in school, but they're nervous about tests, anxious. So we have the student passes every test in class, but kind of prepared for it, right? Because they're doing the work. Then they're told next week we're going to have a test on this, right? So the student is given the statewide test, but anxiety hits the student. And all of a sudden the student freezes. We'll make believe the test is 2 hours long. And for 30 minutes, all that's going on is calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. I'm trying to calm down. 30 minutes gone by now. We have an hour and a half to complete it. Calm down. And the items I did in the first 30 minutes, I don't know if right or wrong. What I'm going to do is going to go on. And now I try to finish the test. But I'm not given extra time because I was never identified as having a problem. I'm a straight A student. So what happens is either I just barely pass the test, or maybe I fail it. Example number 2. Okay, I'm a student who's a low average, low student. I'm getting C's, maybe D's, as long as it's passing. And that's it. But memorizing, that's why I can get the C's. And you ask me questions about what does this mean? I have no idea. So I study hard and I really focus all my attention during that month preparation. And I've learned to memorize. Statewide test comes and boy, these questions are just what we did in class. I know just what to do. After I do this, I get everything. I don't need it anymore, right? And I pass the test. But I pass it. Excellence. Really high score. Is that how I'm really doing? Then how come I'm only doing C's and D's? The parent would say, it was an A on the statewide test. Why is he doing C's and D's? Okay. Example number 3. Student is failing all exams given in class on that area. I'm getting F's in everything. Okay. When the statewide test is given, the student recognizes things that the student never learned in class, but he did learn in his one-on-one tutoring or his one-on-one special services to pass the statewide test. Well, I'm very proud of that, except for one thing. What led me? Could teachers think, why are you failing everything? Why don't you pay attention? ADHD? On with you. Don't you pay attention? Look at how well you did on the statewide tests. So we don't know why. We haven't evaluated what caused the child to perform so well. We need to know those things. We need to know this kid did well, needed support. This kid needs to continue support, will do very well. And over time, the support should be reduced, eventually be eliminated. Unless this is a joke, please accept it as, unless whoever's providing the support, lower or the upper bump. No, you understand what I'm saying? Do statewide tests truly identify how students are performing in school? Well, these 3 examples, by the way, are real life. Don't have to tell you who they are, doesn't matter, but they're real examples. Okay, how do these students do? Okay, they demonstrate passing or failing a statewide test, but it doesn't necessarily tell us what the student's actually performing, what the student really is doing, how much progress the student has made, what has caused the student to pass and do well. They usually cover topic areas, not the entire subject matter, in terms of when teachers give tests. I'm a teacher, university. Yes, that's emeritus, but I've been asked to come back and I still teach. Yeah, we're up to unit 3. At the end of unit 3, I'm going to give you it. Okay. However, at the end of the school year, I might give you a test on everything. But during the course of me teaching, for every lesson, I kind of test out the students. I begin class. I'll make believe I have a class, for example, this semester I teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So make believe Thursday morning or Thursday when we first come into class, first thing I do is my slides, give reviews. Okay, so what is this? Who can tell me what it is? What do you remember of what we did on Tuesday? What do you remember what we did even last week? Let's move forward. The following week is Tuesday. Tuesday, hey, look at this. Hey, look at these questions. What did they tell us about last Thursday? What did they tell us about some stuff before that? So I'm constantly building. So students are learning, they got the knowledge, they build on it. It's called scaffolding, building. So finally you get the student to the highest they can be. Okay. Since the end of the year, tests are administered, teachers may decide not to administer a final exam. That's okay. But what if we have someone like the 3 examples that I gave? The one who final exam memorized it, has been failing. Does he get it? Right in the class? Well, everything. Maybe they really needs help. Never been provided. What about who's doing A's in everything because of anxiety on the test? Never really tell how the kid is doing in the coursework. Oops. Sorry. Okay. Why can't statewide tests be administered periodically? This is why I'm here. I want to discuss what very often is done. What I do is I do it every week, and I give formal tests every unit. That's what I give every unit. They're built on everything that goes on, so that unit 2 is built on what we learned in units 1 and 2. Unit 3 is built on what we learned in 1, 2, and 3. Okay. If the State Board of Education wants the school district to know how the students are performing, why don't they perform periodic statewide tests? And here's the example that I ask, the example that I throw out. If your schools where your children go to school are the same as my school, we got 4, okay? In other words, every quarter, the student is given a report card of how. The problem with those report cards is very often they're very qualitative. Teacher likes the kid, but the kid's not doing very well. She says, the teacher does not like the kid, but the kid is doing straight A's, and the teacher says, problem. And he's really in what? It's qualitative. It's what they call subjective. What about formal tests? Let's say the state was to have tests every quarter, but there's no prep. Okay. And what these are telling us is how the students are performing every quarter. At the end of the first quarter, students doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep it strong. Kids aren't doing well. Let's see what we can do to bring it up next quarter. And it's going over what we expect. We'll use reading as an example. We'll start here. What do we expect for the first quarter? Here we are, baseline. Then what do you expect? Second quarter? So the first quarter is just how you doing. Second quarter, how much improvement you made. Third quarter, how much more improvement. Final, how much. So let's say I'm just using make-believe numbers. Put it at 10%. And you got 30% out of 100 improvement. And you got 70% out of 100 improvement. Then you got 90%. It's a 20% improvement. You ended at 10%. And you saw your slow progress, you saw your continuous progress. That to me is an A student. Okay. Then say you started with, maybe you needed a little bit of support at the beginning. And then let's say you went, what do we say, up to, was 30%, it's 30% improvement. Oh, we'll give you a little more of that support till you get above 50. And then all of a sudden went to 70%. Let's take some of the support away and just do review. And how you got up. The thing is that we need, the interventions, response to support, or does the child need special education support? What the parents might know, gee, it's only doing, and then it went up to 20. Halfway through the school year, maybe I'll get private tutoring for this kid. I want them to do better. Good. We're working together as a group. Okay. Outcomes, present statewide tests. Okay. As stated earlier, the outcomes from the present statewide tests can determine which students need to be watched, which ones need to be reviewed. That'll be the following school year, because it's done at the end of the school year. Okay. If we did quarterly tests, we can see how they're doing at the beginning, and then services right away, or keep an eye on them, see how they do at the midterm time, then keep an eye on them. Okay, so in the end, the student who needs help, support, and all would be more appropriately supported and better identified, having it, and what's helped, what will continue to be needed, and what no longer may be needed. Or they may still need some support, but less often, not twice a week for an hour, but maybe once a week. Wow. Needed. We need to have formal, standardized, objective, administered periodically. When I say the same test administered, I don't mean the same areas. Same areas. And I want to give the same test over and over. You memorize it. It's the same areas. And the initial test would be what I expect you to have learned the previous year. The first quarter, what I expect to grow from the previous in the 1 quarter. Mid-year, what do I expect by midterm? Mid-year. What do I expect by 3/4 of the way? And what do we expect you've learned through? Using that end of the year for the beginning of the next year, how do they compare? Okay, and then moving forward. My hope for the future, we need to get the State Board of Education to know what parents want. Okay, we need to get teachers use of quarterly evaluations and schools to support school districts. We need to use objective measures, not he's doing well in school or he's doing good. Okay, well, scoring straight B, no, B's and C's, or who's it? C's and D's, but he's a great student, so I'm going to give him a C+ or B. Okay, I mean, whatever grade I give him, or anyone there saying it's objective, it's whatever I decide to give. I don't like that student, even though he's a student. I'm going to give him knock him down too much, but it's between an A and a B. If it's an A versus a B, right? Okay, okay. And as the IDEA, Individuals with Disability Education Act states, school districts have a responsibility to provide a free, we know, and appropriate public education. And quarterly tests will tell us how appropriate is our education, how well are we developing, how well are they, and how much. So there we are. I want to thank you, and I hope that what I said was helpful. It is information from one person, and I hope the same things. And I hope that one day, not just in your state, in every state in the United States, that we will use statewide tests. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.